Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial we are going to be making this fun 90s like retro theme tumbler. It's been a while since I've done a water slide wrap, but I have done them in the past, so I thought I would switch it up a little bit and use this really cool tumbler with a handle so I can show you how to work around that handle. This is a Bluetooth speaker tumbler from PARISH Tumblers. It comes with the charging accessories inside the cup, and then of course the Bluetooth speaker does screw off the bottom, which causes you to have two rims instead of a bottom and a top rim. So what I did was take some 400 grit sandpaper, I sanded that slick surface off of this, and then I wiped down with a little bit of Artistry's Mattify. What that does is take any residue or oils off the surface, since this is a sublimation tumbler, so that my CRYSTALAC glitter glue was going to stick really well and wasn't going to repel from that slick surface. You can of course use any other method to apply glitter to your tumbler, whether that be the epoxy method, Mod Podge, or even the Color Flex glitter glue from Artistry. I just chose a quick and easy option. I grabbed my paintbrush and my CRYSTALAC glitter glue and applied a really nice even coverage and made sure that I paid close attention around those handles where it touches the cup. This brush did okay. It would have been a lot better if I used a 1.5 to 2 inch brush, or if I had a all over makeup brush that had a little bit of an angle to it, would have worked better on those handles. But this is just what I had on hand. And once I had that streak-free coverage with my glitter glue, I grabbed Firefly from PDB Creative Studio. Now this is a highly sought after glitter, and I'm sorry, normally I use glitters that I know are in stock at the time of my video. I know for a fact that this one is hard to get, so if you don't have it, jump on those restocks on Wednesdays so that you can get your hands on this absolutely gorgeous glitter. Or grab one of my other favorites like Astrid, Sea Glass, or Alter Ego. I sat that to the side and allowed it to dry for 4 hours, and then applied 2 layers of epoxy or until my tumbler was smooth. I purchased and downloaded this pattern from Etsy, and I am using the Print to Size app to compose these images together and make a large enough wrap for my tumbler. I absolutely love this app. I have used it for like 2 years now making tumblers, because it allows you to resize and shows the dimensions, and you can of course print larger than the print to cut feature on your Cricut or Silhouette program. The dimensions that we were going for was 5.2 by 10.2. So I placed 2 of those images together so that it would be a seamless wrap, and made each of them 5.1 so we can get 10.2 in the end. I printed that out on my water slide paper. This is clear water slide, and I will link the app and the water slide paper down below for y'all. Once the print had dried, I sealed it 3 times with Rust-Oleum matte clear coat. Before you use your water slide, make sure that it is completely dry, otherwise it will be very brittle. I placed the water slide down in a bowl of warm water and allow that to sit until I saw the corners start separating from the backing. I then put the handle of the tumbler face down towards the table, and then sort of centered the water slide up on the back side of my tumbler, because I want my seam to go directly in the center of my handle. I removed the back completely, very, very slowly, to make sure that I was not going to damage my water slide. And I got the center placed and the water out from underneath the center, and then I worked my way around the rest of the tumbler. You can use one of those little squeegee tools, but I did not have one on hand. I think I need to go craft shopping. But I had this larger paintbrush that was a little stiff, so it did help press all of that water out from underneath my water slide. And once I made it around to the handles, I snipped just a teeny tiny bit by the handle so I can press the water slide down on either side. Once I felt like I had the majority of the water out from underneath my water slide, I took some tissue paper, and this is actually like wrapping tissue paper that you would put in a birthday bag or wrap your tumblers with. It really helps absorb all of that additional water, and it helps you press any water out from underneath your water slide you did not get with your squeegee tool without damaging it. You can also use a coffee filter. It feels like the same material and it works just as well. Just if you use a paper towel or a rag, there's a chance that once it gets that moisture on it, it's going to grab a hold of your water slide and it can very easily rip. I allowed that to dry for about an hour, and normally I would have just trimmed around the handles and left the seam since it looks pretty good, but I know it is really hard to get a flawless seam with a water slide. So I'm just going to show you how to cover that seam up and blend it in with the rest of your tumbler. So you can use an acrylic paint or any of your paints and just dab it and make a fade into your tumbler. You can put a tiny little strip of vinyl down the seam, or I had this really cool holographic full from Southern Belle glitter that just matched the theme perfect. So I am using my paintbrush and just brushing on a light coat of tack it. I don't want this to be too thick because I don't want to go heavy on my fulls. So I'm just lightly going all around that handle and underneath, covering that seam up and making sure I am not putting any harsh lines with that glue. I want it to fade into the rest of my tumbler and not be just a harsh cutoff line. The name of this full is Spring Fling, and again, it is from Southern Belle glitter. I'm just trimming off a little slither of it, and I'm just going to rub it over the areas that I used tack it. Once I painted that tack it on, I did dry it completely with my heat gun before applying my fulls. Once I applied my fulls, I went directly into adding on my decal. This decal is also from Etsy, and it was a complete pain. A lot of times I play out these designs in my head and I think, okay, this is going to be easy. And then I go and pick some kind of crazy decal to try to compensate for the lack of on the actual wrap or tumbler design, and I end up wanting to pull my hair out weeding a decal. But really, in the end, it's always worth it putting in the extra time. And to make this a little bit easier, I did take off as much as I could around the edges of the top layer of the decal. That way I could layer it on top of my offset and see where it is going to sit so I could get that offset correct. And then once it was on my tumbler, I went back and removed all of the negative space. Doing it this way really allows those teeny tiny elements to stay put when you're removing that negative space and saves you a lot of headache. So once I had my decal on there, I did spray seal this with Rust-Oleum since that decal had so many tiny elements. And then we went in with our final layers of epoxy. When applying epoxy to a tumbler with a handle, I usually go all over the tumbler just a little bit or with a thin coat, and then I will turn my turner off and focus on getting epoxy around the handle. I go really, really thin around the handle, and sometimes this does cause me to have to add an additional final layer that I normally wouldn't, but I would rather have to add on an additional layer of epoxy, a thin layer, than have any puddling around the bottom of my handles, because if you put it too thick around your handles as the epoxy cures, it will fall down the handle and sometimes just kind of glob around the bottom. So definitely keep it thin to avoid that. I allowed this layer to dry, sanded very lightly around the handle to make sure that it's nice and smooth, and then went back in with a final layer of epoxy. I think this decal was a perfect fit for this tumbler since it does have a Bluetooth speaker on the bottom, and it really gives off all of those bright and neon 90s vibes. And I think that TeckWrapcraft pink holographic vinyl is my new favorite. So I will list all the materials below along with some discount codes for y'all. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell in the corner to be notified anytime a new tutorial drops. That is all for today. We'll see you next time.